everyone, it's Di here from Di's Den and welcome to another Sunday video. We're getting close to Easter, so I thought I would show you how to make these cards. They stand up like this, okay, and they actually look like crosses. They do lay flat to go into a regular envelope, which is a 5 7/8 by 4 1/8. Mental blank then, mental blank, but never mind. So this is the card we're going to make, and I'm going to make it with some old Celebrations cards. So I'm going to pop these on the side, and I'm going to use some retired products, well, a lot of retired products, and so let's show you what we need. Alright, so I'm going to be using the Daffodil Dreams for the Easter blessing for the front, and then I'm going to use Unbound Love for Have a Blessed Day for the back of the card, which is where you actually write your message to somebody. Okay, I'm going to stamp in Pretty Peacock because I wanted a contrast because of the pieces that I'm going to use to make the little saying on the front. And I'm also using this double oval punch, which is retired, but I really like it, so that's the one we're going to use. I'm not sure whether I'm going to use these gems, those gems, or those ones. So we will, when we get that far, oops, I will let you know. Okay, so I've got a couple of scraps here for my saying, so they're just scraps, so that's all you need for that. For the main card itself, you're going to need a piece of card that measures 5 7/8 by 3.5. Then for the actual, let me put all these bits off, the actual cross piece that goes across the top, you're going to need a piece that measures 5 5/8 by 5 inches. Then you're going to need two pieces of card that measure 5.5 by 7/8 and two pieces of Designer Series paper that measure 5 3/8 by 3/4 of an inch. You're then going to need two pieces that measure, two more pieces of card that measure 5.5 by 3/4 of an inch and two pieces of Designer Series paper that measure 5 3/8 by 5/8 of an inch. And then you're going to need one more piece that measures 5.5 by 1 1/8 of an inch. Oops, let's move that piece out of the way. And then a piece of Designer Series paper that measures 5 3/8 by 1 inch. For the, I think I've cut these wrong. This doesn't look like I've cut this at the right length, does it? That doesn't look right at all. Maybe I've got the wrong pieces here. I think I picked up the wrong piece on the wrong side. Never mind, that's right, that's okay. Oop, that one's not good. Let me look at this then. So we need this piece to be 3 inches. Well, there you go, there's the problem. So that one was right. So we need this piece to be for the cross that measures 3 inches. So let's get the cutting board in and chop that one at the 3-inch mark. Oops, wrong one. There we go. Now it's the right length. 3 inches by 1 1/4 inches. Then for the layers, you're going to need a piece that's 2 7/8 of an inch by 1 1/8 of an inch. And then my Designer Series paper. Now, if you've got directional paper like me, you need to turn your paper so that you get this piece in the right way. 2 3/4 of an inch by 1 inch. For my writing panel on the back, you're going to need a piece that measures 5 5/8 by 3 1/4. And then my white piece to go with it, which is 5 3/8 by 3 inches. So they go onto there like so. Let's pop all of those out of the way, and let's stick all these pieces together first. That's going to make life so much easier when we come to making the card. So we're going to stick our pieces that measure 5.5 by 7/8 of an inch to the pieces of DSP that measure 5 3/8 by 3/4 of an inch. Now there's not much of a gap, it's a very small gap because it would look funny with a larger gap on them. So let's pop them on one side once we've done those. Come on. Why is the glue going all wonky? Because the operator's wonky. It's so warm today. It's ridiculously warm weather for this time of the year. I mean, here we are in autumn and we've got 38 degrees today. I mean, come on. This is just ridiculous. But that's what happens. So I have got directional paper, so if you've got directional paper, just make sure that you cut it the correct way. And then once we glue these all on, we're going to make sure that they all sit nicely the right way. Okay, this bit. Come on. The glue's not even coming out nicely today. It doesn't want to play. And then I will do this cross piece as well, so let's just do this bit. And then we've got all of those bits all stuck together, ready to go when we're ready. And once again, you need to make sure that this is done in the landscape where the others are done in the portrait style. Okay, so we've got all those done. Let's bring in our main card pieces and let's do this piece, which is our cross piece, which is the 5 inches by 5 5/8 of an inch. So let's pop that piece out of the way. Get over there, you. And we're going to, oh, wrong board. We're going to bring in our scoreboard, and on the 5-inch side, we're going to score this using our small ball end of our stylus at 1 inch, 1 7/8 of an inch, 3 1/8 of an inch, and 4 inches. And that's all the scoring we're going to do. So that is 1, 1 7/8, 3 1/8, and 4 inches. So we're going to actually fold this, starting at the second fold line, and we're going to fold that as a mountain fold, with the other fold, the first one, as a valley fold. So we've got that sort of like a step shape. We're going to do exactly the same on the other side. We're going to fold that at the second line as a mountain fold, and then the other one as a valley fold. So we've got our folds like so, and what we're going to do next is we're just going to push this from side to side to make sure that it goes across nicely. Whoops, go across there. There we go. So when we pop this piece onto this piece of card here, this is going to sit with a 1/8 of an inch border on all 4 sides. So we need to make sure that we get that nicely so that when it turns, it will fold like so. So we need to do that one on this side. We're going to glue on the first tab only. And we're going to pop this onto our piece of card. I'm going to turn it this way because I find it easier. I can judge the distance a lot easier. And once before it's dry, just push that across and make sure this other side looks just as even. Because once that does that, we know that we can then push that down nicely. And this one is going to sit there nicely. So we can then pop this one back this way, lift that one up, and put some glue on this side, and we know that that's going to be even on both sides. Oops, get back over here, you. How dare you move. So we can see that's a nice even gap on all 4 sides. Now that looks like it's even all the way around. And this will move backwards and forwards like this without any problems. So it's nice just to give it another press down on either side like this, just to make sure that those lines are right in the correct side, and we have our piece of card like this. Now I know I've stuck this on before I put all these pieces on. It's just easier to make sure that these are all going to move nicely. So we're going to put our larger one, which is our 1 1/8 by 5.5, that's this piece, with our 1 inch by 5 3/8 on the DSP. I'm going to pop that piece on first, and we're going to make sure that we've got our design up the correct way. Now I can lay that flat over on one side and pop that on like so. So that's going to be our middle piece like so. Then we're going to take our 2 smaller pieces, which are the pieces that are 5.5 by 3/4 of an inch. So that's this piece that's 5.5 by 3/4 of an inch, and our DSP is 5 3/8 by 5/8 of an inch, and we're going to glue these onto these sides. Now you can do this while it's laying flat if you want, but I just found that it actually sits on there a lot nicer, whoops, if we do it while it's on the card, because we know that it's going to bend in the correct places nicely. So we can do that one, and we can turn it that way and put the other one on this side. I need to get the glue off the top of my nib there. Thank you. Okay, and making sure that I've got this up the correct way. This one's going to go onto that little section in the middle there. Okay, so that's those 2 done, and as you can see it will still fold nicely, and it's not going to buckle because of the way it is. These are the next ones, and these are the ones that are 5.5 by 7/8 of an inch. That's this piece, and the top piece is 5 3/8 by 3/4 of an inch. So we're going to pop these ones on. We can plop them on if you want, but popping them on probably sounds a bit better. And once again, making sure that we have our designer series paper up the correct way. Now if you've got a pattern that runs all the way around and it's all the same and you want it to match up, you need to cut it as in each side. But I didn't worry about that because I wasn't too worried about how it looked, because it was quite an abstracty pattern. So we're going to pop this one on this side here like so. And as you can see, that's now going to fold nicely like so from side to side. So we're actually going to stamp our back section of our card first and pop that on before we put our cross on the front. And that's because it's easier to do that before we put the cross on there, because if you've got that extra bulk. But it's entirely up to you. And as I say, we're going to do this in Pretty Peacock, and I'm going to stamp "Have a blessed day." Now I did Pretty Peacock for the simple reason that I wanted a little bit of a contrast colour, and because we're going to be stamping on some of the green here in a minute for the front of the card, I've just found that it would work so much better. Okay, so let's pop that piece onto there, like so. Turn that one over, and making sure that we get this the correct way around, we're going to turn that way up. And we're going to glue this, our writing panel, onto the back of the card. And once again, I'm just going to push down nicely, and as you can see, it is actually sitting there and it sits up really lovely. So I don't need my glue anymore. Yes, I do, so I won't worry about it now. Alright, so we're going to stamp this piece here with our Easter blessing, or Easter blessing. So I'm going to stamp that piece there. And that's why I picked that colour, so that it actually stuck out in the middle of that. And then I'm going to pop this in here, and we're going to just cut that out nicely. So this piece was actually measured 3 1/4 inches, which you could go away with quite easily less than that, by 1 1/8 of an inch wide. So, and then I'm going to just push out or punch out my other piece, which again, this piece is the same width, 3 1/4 inches, and we could have got away with 1 1/2 inches, but as I say, they were just some scraps that I had, so let's pop them out of the way like so. We're going to glue these two pieces together. And then I'm just going to put a couple of dimensionals on the back, if I've got any. Ah yes, I've still got just a couple on this piece. Don't worry, I will use all the edging up on future projects. Alright, so we're going to pop that on one side for a minute, and then we're going to work on this piece. So this piece here is actually going to sit on the top like so. So that when that folds down, it will then be 4 1/8 of an inch around. So what we want to do is we want to just, I think just personally, this is just my idea, is get my ruler, and I'm going to mark from the top of the page, from the top of the thing, about 1 inch. Well, maybe I'll do it from the top of this orange piece, about 1 inch, and I'll need my pencil wherever it's gone. There it is. And I'm just going to put a mark there like so, so that I know. So I'm going to pop some glue onto this piece at that 1 inch mark. We're about the 1 inch down mark. Alright, then I'm going to lay this flat like this. I just found this easier. And then I'm going to pop this on here, lining up this edge with this score line. By doing that, when you press it this way, you'll find that that's virtually the same on this side. You can wiggle it a little bit so that you've got it more even before it dries off. I'm just going to make that just that tiny little bit more. That's better, right in the middle like so, and that's going to glue there, making sure you've got that up the right way, which I've got mine upside down, would you believe? No, I haven't. Yes, I have. Let's pop that off. Let's put a bit more glue on there, and let's do that piece again, shall we? Shall we do that bit again? Yes, let's do that again. That's better. So we got it the right way up this time. I don't know, I can't believe I did that. So just right on that score line, that way you can see that it's right on that score line there, and it's right on that score line there, and it's stuck right in the middle, and that's the correct way up this time. Yay, she says. Alright, so then we're going to pop this onto here like so. Now you can put a rectangular one, a circle, any shape you wanted onto for your saying on the front there. So I'm going to use these coppery ones because I think the coppery ones will look more like the pumpkin pie in that paper. So I'm going to use these small coppery ones. Oops. Get off my finger. And one more for luck. Down here. And that's our card for today. So what do you think? It's a lovely Easter card, a very easy one, and it stands up nicely. It does stand up nicely. So it will stand up on your counter, and it lays flat to fit into a 4 1/4, just under 1/4, so 4 1/8 inch envelope, which is the regular size for Europe and Australia, which is done out of A4, a quarter of A4 size card. So that's my card. I've got a couple more here. I don't know, did I bring them in and show you? I did bring them in and show you at the beginning, didn't I? I did this one, but this one, because of the gold, it's really, really tight at moving one way or the other. So I think unless you've got a very thin gold card, I wouldn't do it with the gold personally, because you want to be able to push it over and it fits in nicely. But it still looks nice, and I think it's a lovely card. So if you've enjoyed today's card and you'd like the written tutorial for this, head down below here and you'll find the links to my Facebook group where you'll find the written tutorial. If you're not a member of my Facebook group and you'd like to join, please join. All you've got to do is answer the question. If you don't answer the question, I'm sorry you can't join, and I usually send you back why I have declined you, to let you know. So, but if you've enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you all, and I will see you all again next week. Bye for now.